NutriCast.
So for me, growing up, I always had the scarcity mindset of like money. Debt free is a big thing for me. Dave Ramsey in the background here is like, that's my guy. So it's like, you know, you're risking the money over and over again, risking it, but also investing it. And it's two different ways of looking at it. And I always was very like, oh, you know, then I got to take this money and then pay this person. Hopefully it works out. So that was very hard for me. And it still is a little bit more challenging. So that was a really big thing for scaling.
Welcome to Think Business with Tyler, sharing our methods and strategies for success. Join in on our conversations with business owners as we highlight their triumphs and detail how they overcame the challenges they faced while continuing to grow and scale their business. It's time to think life, think success, and think business with your host, Tyler Martin.
Hey there, welcome back. We've got Phil Risher in the house. We're diving into practical tips for managing your business finances, scaling smartly, and nailing your marketing game plan.
Hey, Phil, welcome to the Think Business with Tyler podcast show. How you doing, man?
Great, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So I wanted to start out with what I'd love to just learn. First, maybe something about yourself, what you're doing professionally, and then I'd love to learn a little bit about you personally, maybe anything you want to share on a personal note.
Yeah, Phil Risher, Flash Consulting. We partner with home service businesses doing 1 to 10 million in revenue. We are a completely outsourced digital marketing consulting company that helps them grow their business. Personally, I got a wife, a daughter, live in a house. I'm from Maryland. So yeah, just fun stuff. I used to live in a school bus.
Oh, wow. Okay, I can't pass that up. How did the school? I knew this was going to go this direction. By the way, check out Phil's LinkedIn stuff because he'll drop these tidbits about himself. I think I've already had like 20 in my mind. And here, the bus one I haven't heard. Tell me the bus one. I got to hear it.
Yeah, so kind of how I got into digital marketing was I started a blog about personal finance for young people, paying off student loans and that kind of stuff. And one of my big passions was traveling. So I actually quit my job and bought a tiny school bus and made a tiny home and traveled around the country and made content, video content, blog content. And that's really how I learned digital marketing, was just through that experience. So I traveled for about 3 months all over the US and hiked and that kind of stuff. So it's like a fun little tidbit.
This is so cool. Yeah, you have a lot of good stories. So back in the day, there used to be something called the Warrior Marketing Forum. I don't know if it's still around. Were you ever in that community? Because that was like kind of the first, at least that I ever got exposed to. It was a whole internet marketing community that kind of exploded probably, I don't know, was it 10, 20 years ago?
Yeah, I was not a part of that.
Okay.
You know, I was more on this like personal finance side was my really big passion. And then I just kind of figured out digital marketing from there.
Okay, got it. No, that's interesting. So I do kind of want to start out. What gave you your first taste of like being an entrepreneur? Like, did you know all along at a very young age, hey, I'm going to have my own business, or did it kind of work itself out?
Yeah, I was always a very creative person and I always liked sales and commission-based sales. Like I worked at a restaurant when I was growing up. I worked at Enterprise straight out of college, their management trainee program. And it's like commission-based, running a small business kind of thing. And I then started my blog and I could never monetize it, but I like the creativity aspect of just like doing cool things. And once I found out, okay, wow, I have a product now that I can actually sell. It was like, you know, home run for me. So I always was creative and kind of dancing around entrepreneurship, but I never really figured out how to monetize anything until I got to Flash.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
But I never really figured out how to monetize anything until I got to Flash.
Really? Because, you know, learning about you and having known you now for a while, I know you were at one point like a BD person. I think it was for a marketing company. And I think the guy actually asked you, I may be oversitting here, but asked you to leave because you were doing too well. What's the story behind that?
Yeah. So the story is, so I worked at Enterprise coming out. So I ran a local service business that was $1 to $3 million. I was the branch manager, team of 5 to 15 people, and I got paid off the bottom line. And I did that for 5 years coming out of college. I then transitioned into B2B sales, where I was selling fleet management services to home service businesses that usually had 20 vehicles plus. So I was calling on CEOs, setting meetings, talking to them about fleet management. So I learned all the problems that they all had. At the same time, I was blogging, doing SEO, figuring out how to get backlinks, figuring out how to write blog content, email marketing, all this stuff. And I quit my job at Enterprise and I went to travel and do all this stuff. Well, one of my clients that I sold fleet management services to was an air duct cleaning company that was doing $3 million in revenue. And when I came back from that trip, he was all gung ho about me coming to work with him. So he would be texting me, calling me. And then we finally met up and he's like, come work with me and you can be my director of business development. And when I went to work there, within the first 10 months, literally, he went from 3 million to 4 million in revenue, $300,000 to $900,000 in profit. And he starts telling all of his friends about me. And I was only making about $70,000 to $80,000 at the time. And I knew what I was, the impact I was making. I knew the numbers. So I'm like, hey, like I should probably be making at least like 6 figures here or something. And that's when he's like, you should go be a consultant. He named the company Flash Consulting after me and my wife. My wife's name is Ash and my name is Phil. He said, go start this company, go help these companies do this. You can charge, you can make more money and like, go do this. So he basically like fired me from his company and said, go start a consulting company and do this stuff. So that's kind of how it got into this journey.
Yeah. And that was going to be one of my questions. So Flash, for the folks at home that are listening, Flash is spelled for the purpose of the company is PHLASH. And I love that story because you shared that on LinkedIn is that, because generally you think of Flash, obviously with an F, sounds like a pretty creative guy too. So that was cool that he gave you kind of that nudge. What were you thinking like when you first started Flash? Because now I want to segue into like growing and scaling Flash. What were you thinking? Like, was that a scary jump or did you maintain him as a client so that gave you a bridge or what was that looking like?
Yeah. So we actually transitioned on my honeymoon. I got married and then over my honeymoon, I'm like, hey, Ash, when I get back, like I'm going to be doing this business thing. So interesting transition. It's a very strategic thing looking back at it, but basically the conversation was I'm making 70 or 80,000 here. I can have the same impact by cutting my hours in half and cutting my pay in half. And I'll still do all the same stuff for you. I just want the liberty to go out and get other clients. That was the conversation that we had. And he was like, okay, cool. So then when I first started, I was literally just the technician. I was selling my time for money. I was charging $50 an hour. And I was saying, okay, how many hours can I fill up so I can get to 100,000? And within the first month, he referred me to 2 other people. I had 40 hours, $50 an hour, I was making $100,000. So I was like, cool. Then I got referred to my next client. And I'm like, I don't have any more hours to give. So what do I do? So then I started to productize our service from there. And this was in the beginning of 2019. So it was going into COVID and all this kind of stuff. But basically, I started to productize my service and really like hire a team and scale from there.
Yeah, very cool. So, one thing in working with you a little bit is I noticed you're very, and I don't mean to say the word rigid in a negative sense. You're really good at, your business model. Like I've come to you and I've approached you with some things and you said to me, dude, this is a little bit outside of my core, but here are people that do this. How did you learn that skill? Because I think that's a lot of times as business owners, we're really bad about that. And we end up chasing our tail on things that aren't good for our business. So where did you get that and how do you stick to it?
Yeah, for sure. So the first 2 years in business, I wasn't rigid. And like, I actually was a sales consultant for a technology app. And I actually got him a sales call at Harvard and we flew to Harvard together to meet with these doctors to pitch this app. This was like when I first started. So like when I first started, it was like, I'll take whatever I can get and figure it out. What I realized quickly was when I productized our service, it worked for some people and it didn't work for other people. And the people that it worked for were all these people, 1 to 10 million, home service, B2C focus. Like that was our bread and butter. And I knew that those processes that we built, if we were to go outside of those processes, then we'd have every single person would have, oh, well, this one's a little different. This one's a little different. And so I realized like there's so many companies out there that if we just say yes to these people, then we'll just say no to these people and it all makes sense. But it is extremely challenging for a lot of people, especially that first $1 million mark. The book Good to Great, he talks about like this hedgehog mindset, like, one avatar, one product or service, one channel kind of thing. And for us, it's the same thing. Like we only sell one thing and it's this thing to these people through this platform.
So it's safe to say, like when you start out, that's a little harder to do. Once you get the momentum, it's probably a little easier for you to do now. Is that a fair statement?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, I had a call yesterday and the person was a little too small and I'm like, it's probably not the right fit. So maybe not the best thing here, but she still left us a 5-star Google review because I gave her a lot of, value.
Wow. And this is another thing. Well, actually, before I go down the video path, because something you do great is your little short videos. Before I go there, I want to talk about, because you brought it up a few minutes ago, you talked about hourly billing and kind of just working for time. And then you didn't use this terminology, but value billing, going into more like a value billing model. Can you talk to me about that? I recently had a prospect come to me And just to give you an idea and kind of set this up. So she came to me and she's doing a great job of hourly billing. I mean, she's really doing good. I mean, she quotes her time to the client, says, hey, it's going to take me, it's a home services business, it's going to take me 2 to 6 hours. And that's what she bills them for. So I said, hey, really, have you ever thought about more of like a value billing model? Because you're spot on with your hourly time. You could probably build something into that and you'd end up making more and providing more value to the client because they know exactly what they were going to pay. What are your thoughts around that first? How did you move to like a value billing thing? And then what would you tell someone coming that is in that stuck in kind of that hourly grind?
Yeah. For home service businesses, you have to figure out your burden rate, which is like, what is it going to cost you to actually have a technician out there doing these things? And once you kind of figure out your burden rate, then you can back into how long should this take and that kind of stuff. For me personally, there's two ways to scale my business. It's either I gonna profit, $30 an hour and put someone in there for $50 an hour and charge $80 an hour. And then woohoo, like that's one way to scale your business. The other way to scale it is to productize your service, figure out what your burden rate is, build the pillar pieces and then SOPs. And then now you have something, whether it's a duct cleaning that costs $500, a gutter cleaning that costs $600, whatever, or a new install that costs $20,000. You can kind of piece it together to make it work. And so for me, I had to pick between those two things of how am I going to scale? And it made a lot more sense to productize our service since we did a good amount of stuff, opposed to having these hourly rates for different things.
Right. And when you say productize, you really just mean kind of more of like a value billing thing where it's like a complete ecosystem of products, for lack of better, or ecosystem of services that come as one package. Am I interpreting that correctly? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Cool. Very cool.
It's the same thing in home service, like gutter cleaning. Okay. For this size home, gutter cleaning. And the way that I came up with this was at the duct cleaning company. They didn't do like, the number of vents that you have or however hourly it's going to take. The owner was very smart. He said, okay, well, we do, they probably do about 40 duct cleanings per day. So he's like, if we're going to be quoting getting 50 leads every day, like we can't have it based off of go out there, give them a quote, blah, blah, blah. So he said, if it's a single family home with one HVAC system, it's going to be this price. If it has two systems, it's going to be this price. What I found is like the easier that you make it for the client to understand how much they're going to pay, the easier you make it to work with you, the better it's going to be.
Yeah.
Quicker.
Yeah. One of the comments of this particular person I'm using as an example, she said to me, hey, I'm kind of scared to do that. One of my competitors do it that way. And she got a really bad review that she gave a quote, I guess, this competitor of a certain amount, and it took them, a few hours. And the customer felt like she was being cheated by being overcharged because it took such a short amount of time. Any thoughts around that type of situation, how you might overcome something like that?
Yeah, it comes down to kind of like the value thing that you're saying. So like with the duct cleaning thing, because came up a lot with them was, okay, well, we charge, $200 for a dryer vent cleaning and it takes 30 minutes to clean your dryer vent or whatever. Right. And it's like, well, why did I pay $200? How much do you make? How much do you make? Trying to figure out all the numbers and stuff. And it's like, at the end of the day, you're going to get this result and it's going to cost this amount of money. It's not going to cost more potentially. It's not going to cost less potentially. It's just going to be this amount.
Right.
And I think if you can get to the end goal and then say like, it's both sides of this. It could cost a lot more. You hear those 1-star reviews too of like, they told me it was going to cost this much. And then, well, there's a lot of issues and this kind of stuff. So it can go either way with that.
Right. No, I that does make a lot of sense. And I think part of it also is the setting up of it, right? Like you just said what the end result was going to be. And I think in that sales process is that has to come across too. I think that's maybe helps with the value too, is what my thought process is on that.
That's right. And what we coach at the duct cleaning company and what we do at Flash is like, we get so much volume of sales opportunities. We can't be piecemealing things together and time and materials, everything. It's like, we just want to make it so simple that it's like, this is the price of it so we can keep it moving with the next thing. We might lose on this one. We might win on this one. But at the end of the day, if we stick to our blueprint here, it's going to be a win for everyone.
Yeah, very cool. So now I want to talk to, and it almost sounds like a silly topic, but it's legit, guys. So stay with me, is your videos. So oftentimes when I'll do like a video for a client or something that's educational, I'll be like, oh, I'm going to keep this short. I don't want to bore them to death or whatever. You do video snippets, like just nonstop. Like if there's any type of interaction, it's pretty high probability that I'm going to get a video snippet or my client will or whoever. Yeah. The difference is your video snippets are like pure value, dude. Like I watch them just for education content half the time because they're good stuff. They're not just you talking to hear yourself talk. Like they're good stuff. And it really has changed even my approach. I'm still not nearly like you are, but I think a lot about them. I now do them. I still try to keep them super short because I don't want to bore people with numbers or whatever. But I have implemented more, and I want to continue to do that. What's your like? Is that just a gift, or is it something you've worked on, or tell me like your thought process on the whole? Every time someone has a question of you, you kind of respond oftentimes in a short video.
Yeah, so we use a platform called Loom, Loom, and what it allows us to do is to record our screen and show us as well, and then talk through something. And the reason that we like this platform is because an email, you can't get the context of what these people are saying. And when you can show a Loom video, it shows a little bit more personalization, as well as you can hear the articulation in their voice of what they're saying. So part of our onboarding for all of our team, the consultants specifically on our team, their first 2 months with us, all they do is go through and create Loom videos. So we go through and we pick prospects. They create Loom videos dissecting all their digital marketing, and they send it to them. If they open it, great. If not, it just helps them get comfortable on video selling and also communicating via video. So the biggest thing for us is like, if we can articulate it in a 1 minute or 2 minute Loom video and show the people what the stuff is, it's much easier because we're not on site. We can't go there and literally like click around stuff. And it also saves a lot on meetings because it's just very quick. We've seen this in the home service space where like a remodeling company, they get back some drawings and they're like, I wonder how this is going to look. Instead of scheduling a whole Zoom for 30 minutes and trying to find schedules, just create a Loom video and walk through the stuff and send it to the person. They can watch it at their leisure and then comment back. So there's a lot of practical ways to use it.
Yeah. Specifically you, and I think you're humble, and so you're saying we, but your videos are really good, man. Do you consciously, I mean, is it a skill you developed, or do you consciously think about it? Because they're really, honestly, they're a lot of times your videos, like I go back to one where there were certain services one of my clients was looking for. And not only did you educate the client on, and this is all in a 4-minute video, did you educate the client, but then you started looking up other services that might be a right fit for what they were looking for. And you're like on the screen, like looking up, pointing them out, their names and stuff. And it's just good quality stuff. I don't usually go on about stuff like this, but you do have a skill for it. Is it something you think you developed, or does it come more natural?
Definitely developed. So when I started blogging and I went into that B2B sales role, I was very nervous because like I'm calling on $20 million CEOs and I'm a 25-year-old kid. Like, what am I going to tell them about running their business? So I joined Toastmasters actually for public speaking. And in that process of blogging Toastmasters, I ended up getting featured on Forbes, CNBC, Business Insider, Yahoo Finance, all these platforms. And what I did was I flipped all of those features into news interviews. So I was literally like on the news, on the radio. I was doing news interviews when I was traveling around the country. So then I could get more comfortable on video and really just like trying to add as much value as possible. For me, it's like, I'll give the recipe and then I sell the cooking is like my big thing. So it's like, how much value can I just pack in here and just give it away? I'm not trying to just like, make money off of these things, just like help people.
Right. That's good. I love that. I'll give the recipe, but I'll sell the cooking. I like that. I don't think I've heard of that one. That's a good one. Hey, so now I want to shift gears. So let's talk about scaling Flash in itself. What are some challenges that you've had? I know you're, probably 7-figure plus business type going on right now. What are some challenges you've seen in terms of scaling the business, and what stands out to you as maybe being one of the biggest challenges, I would even say?
Yeah. So for me growing up, I always had the scarcity mindset of like money, like debt free is a big thing for me. Dave Ramsey in the background here is like, that's my guy. So it's like, you're risking the money over and over again, risking it, but also investing it. And it's two different ways of looking at it. And I always was very like, oh, then I got to take this money and then pay this person. Hopefully it works out. So that was very hard for me. And it still is a little bit more challenging. So that was a really big thing for scaling. And then also, this sounds crazy, but all my experience was in a setting of a team setting. Like I was in an enterprise branch with 5 to 15 people and I was coaching them and helping them. And then I was in a sales role that was at an office, but now I'm scaling a team that's virtual. So like, how do I still, build those one-to-ones, build those relationships, build a community feel so that people know each other? That's been a really big eye opener, probably just in the last year. Right now we have 11 people on the team. So it's like, how do I make sure that all these people know each other and like can communicate? Because I know them, but they might not know each other.
Right. Do you find as you add each individual person, does that kind of mess up the ecosystem shortly and you have to kind of integrate them, or has it gotten to the point where now 11 plus people, it's getting easier to integrate people, or how does that work exactly?
Yeah. So we work in teams. So like our consultant has a team member on the back end that's their go-to support person. So the consultant is kind of customer facing. Then they have a team member on the back end. And that team member then has an internal team of like web developer, Google Ads type of support. So those teams, they have their own meetings every day. They meet at 9:30 every single day, and they're meeting, talking about what clients they're working on, what's going on. They know each other pretty well. So when we add a new person in, you're going to go into a team. So it's kind of built in every day. You're going to be talking and communicating with your own team. One thing that we recently did, do you know the book Buy Back Your Time with Dan Martell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So his first rung of replacement is hiring an admin. And I always hung on to this one. Like I would still be answering the phones or doing stuff. So we hired an admin a couple months ago. And that's been very transformational because she'll send out like a monthly Slack to all of our team that she curates. And then I put in my 2 cents. She also like schedules our quarterly team meetings and then puts on all the stuff. So it's been really good to have someone to help me with that specific thing so that people don't feel like they're out on the island.
Yeah, very cool. Do you find it hard? It sounds like you're letting go now with 11 people. You're probably letting go a lot more. Did you find that hard in the beginning to kind of let go of things? Because I'm sure initially it all revolved around you. And as you start to add people, you probably let go of things. Like how have you kind of matured through that, if you will?
Yeah, this is very interesting for me, to be honest, because when I started this company, I didn't know digital marketing. Like I just knew what it should be. Like I knew because I was in the seat trying to grow a business. I was at $3 million trying to get to 5 million. And I knew these digital marketing companies. I'm like, I wish they did this. I wish they did this. I wish they did this. So when I started my company, I'm like, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to figure out how to do that and either find the people or build the system. So what I first did when I started and I was selling my hours, I actually found a digital marketing company that did all the right stuff and I bolted them onto my business. So they were like the nerds and I was the consultant. And I said, okay, I want y'all to do this exact stuff. And then I'm going to do this. And then slowly I built all my processes off of this. So kind of to answer your question was, I don't even know, like, I don't know what's good or what's not. I just know what the client wants because I was in their shoes. So when I'm building my team, like our director of digital marketing, he has 5 years of digital marketing experience at an agency doing all this stuff. So I'm like, hey, this is what we want. I don't need to know exactly how it's done, but this is the end outcome that we need here. And so it's been very liberating for me because I can just hire great people. Like someone on our team, Leslie, I think you know her. She's been in digital marketing for like 7 years. Like she knows local SEO to the T. So I know that she's amazing. She knows more than me. So I think when you hire people that know more than you, that can get you the outcome, it allows you to kind of step away and say, I know what the end goal should be. And I know what the client wants because I was in their shoes. So like, how can we just build to that?
If you're a business owner feeling stuck in your business, overwhelmed, responsible for everything that happens, and working long hours, Tyler helps his clients develop processes, hire high-performing team members, and better understand their financial metrics and numbers to allow for a more predictable, less hands-on business. To schedule a free, no-pressure consultation, head to thinktyler.com and click the meeting button. Tyler would love to see if he can help you work on your business, not in your business. Schedule a consultation today at thinktyler.com. Think life, think success, think business.
I know what the end goal should be, and I know what the client wants because I was in their shoes. So like, how can we just build to that?
Right. So let's get to that. Hiring great people. That's an interesting thing because when I think of digital marketing or just internet marketing in general, it's kind of a cesspool, to be honest. I mean, at least my experience is from a consumer standpoint. Everybody tells you they're going to do stuff. Everybody tells you half the stuff they tell you, in my humble opinion, isn't even accurate or is dated in some cases. And so it's kind of a cesspool. So how do you hire great people? Because I think, people can be in digital marketing for 20 years. Doesn't necessarily mean they're doing what's in the best interest of the client at all times.
That's right. So as I mentioned before, like I like performance pay. So all of our team is on performance pay.
Okay.
Yeah. So like our consultants, they get paid a percentage of the monthly retainer that the clients are giving us. So if their clients are not happy and their clients leave, they make less money. So they'll have like a base pay and then they'll get their commission as their clients are paying. So they're incentivized to keep people happy. Even our director of digital marketing, they're on performance pay as well. The more clients we have, the more money they're going to make. This helps us scale to the client count that we want while also incentivizing people along the way so that we're not giving 2% raises over and over again. It's like, if you want more clients, keep the clients you have or go get some more.
Yeah. You're almost like then creating, it's almost like a recurring affiliate model to some degree, but then they also have ownership of the clientele, it sounds like, and they have ownership of how much money they want to make. So that's pretty cool. I guess my next question would be, how do you manage that from a profitability of the business as a whole? And obviously, I'm not asking for specific numbers, but do you
Yeah, that's fine.
sit there and like, go, okay, this is like the meat piece of the pie that I want to end up with in terms of computing that?
Yeah. So when I first started and I was doing that framework of me hourly and then hiring this other digital marketing company thing and then having a profit side of things, profit first. We run on profit first and we're big on profit first. So what I did was a 30-30-30 was like 30% for the consultant. This was like my mindset back then. It's a little different now, but 30% for the consultant, 30% for the back end support, 30% for profit, and then 10% for tax was like kind of how I was building this. So then when I started plugging things in, it wasn't like me just like, trying to earn my wages or something like that. It was like, how can I plug people into these different buckets? They've changed obviously now, but that was kind of how I was looking at it.
Got it. That's very cool. So, you mentioned Profit First for the folks out in the audience. Could you talk a little bit about Profit First? What is it? How does it fit into your business?
Yeah. So when I was first running the business, I had a checking account and we started doing good. And I had like $50,000 in the checking account. I'm like, what do I do with this money? Is this tax money? Can I hire someone? Can I pay this thing? And I had no idea what I was doing. And one of my clients, actually, now a mentor of mine. He's like, hey, you sound like you need to read Profit First. So I read Profit First. And basically what he says is instead of having one checking account, you have 5 accounts. And those 5 accounts are like, you have your income that comes in, you have your tax account, you might have your operating expenses, your profit, and you kind of have these different buckets. And twice per month, you put things into the different buckets based on percentages. And then you can pay out. You'll know if you have enough money in those buckets to pay. It's been transformational for me personally. It's also been transformational when I make decisions about hiring people. How much commission do they make based off of these buckets? Also, when we bring on a new team member, it gives me permission to say, okay, our marketing budget, cool. I have an extra $3,000 in my marketing budget. Do I want to pull that percentage back or do I want to invest that into my marketing? Because I know that money's going to be there.
Yeah, that's great. What I love about Profit First is it's, things like Profit First we've been doing, frankly, for many, many years, but it kind of creates this process where it's very clear to people what will help them if they do it this way. And it's just a great I call it kind of a cash flow management system. It's a
Exactly.
great way because a lot of times what happens is as business owners, we kind of rob Peter to pay Paul. Maybe we don't have the money, we want to, like you said, hire someone, but we still need to make our estimated tax payments. And then when estimated tax payments come around, we have to take money from another bucket. And it's just like this constant thing. And when you put it into different buckets, you can clearly see, hey, no, I've got money to hire another person. Hey, I've got money. My taxes are set aside. I'm ahead on the game on that one. So it's a cool system. It's interesting to hear you still to this day, you still utilize that system.
Yeah, we're recording this on the 20th to 25th. I got my distributions coming up. So yeah, no, definitely we still do it. And any home service business out there, like the guy that I was working at, the duct cleaning guy, he was running it out of checking account, $300,000 in his checking account. I'm like, dude, you got to get some accounts set up and like get a game plan in place. Cause he had that exact issue where he came around and his taxes were due and he owes, $300,000 or something.
Yeah, it's sad too. Once you get behind 1 year, it just gets incrementally so much harder to catch up because you have to use next year's profit to cover last year's taxes, which, oh, by the way, this new profit, I'm going to have to pay tax on. And then
That's
I've
right.
already used that cash flow to pay for the prior year. So it's a yucky scenario. So yeah, it's great that you bring that up and that anyone you see like that definitely would benefit from probably spreading it out. They now even have, I don't know if you've seen this, there's a bank called Relay Fi, and they actually automate. You can instantly set up bank accounts. So no longer you have to go set up like 5 bank accounts online or with a bank.
Wow.
You just can, once you set up one account with them, you can set up to like 99 accounts if you wanted to go out that far. Now that would be crazy, but if you want to do like 7 accounts, you can immediately do it online because you've already set it up. They're just extensions of your main account. And then you can even give allocations and percentages of as money comes in, if you want to allocate it as it comes in, however you want to do it. So there's really no more excuses. Sometimes people complain that, oh, it's too much bookkeeping, too much work to have to do these transfers. But really now you can even go down the automation path and there's really no excuses not to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like I keep track of all my hours as far as like worked in different buckets of my business. It helps me think about, okay, how much am I going to buy back my time? And like in the finance side of things, I probably spend like maybe 5 hours a month because it's just like you move the buckets, you run some payroll and stuff, and it's like, that's it.
Yeah. When you say you track your hours, are you just kind of doing it in your head, or are you physically like writing that down somewhere?
Yeah, no, I have a Google sheet that has my hours of all the different roles right now that I'm sitting in the company. And what I've been doing as far as like scaling is every time that I kind of reach a peak of hours, I'm like, okay, it's time to hire someone for this. So like sales, and I'm in Dan Sullivan's coaching program for strategic coach.
Yeah, great.
And he talks a lot about like using your unique ability, tracking your time. And so sales and marketing, right now I'm in that sales seat for like traction, if you were to think about that. And yeah, so I literally every 30 minutes, I'm kind of like, okay, how much time did I spend on these different things? And I put it in there. And then at the end of the month, I audit how I'm doing.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, Strategic Coach is actually a wonderful program too. How long have you been in that?
It's been a year. So I'm just coming up on my first year.
Okay. And then you mentioned EOS. Do you guys have that methodology in your own business?
Yeah. So when I first started as a consultant and I was doing my time for thing, one of our clients was implementing EOS and they put me in the marketing seat. So he's like, I want you to come in and we're implementing this whole EOS. So I went through the entire implementation of EOS and
Wow.
I'm like, this is amazing. So yes, now we run on EOS. We're not, I think like once you kind of get to around like 2 million mark, you're at the point where it's like you need to fully scale EOS and bring in an implementer and stuff. We're a little bit smarter than that, but yeah, we run on EOS. We use, big rocks, all those kind of things. All that stuff.
Do you
Yes.
do like the level 10 meetings even where you kind of have that whole structure of a level 10 meeting?
Yeah, we'll do it at level 10, but it's like I'm the sales guy, I'm the ops guy, I'm the visionary. We have a director of digital marketing who's on there, but it's like me and him. So it's not as level 10 as you would want. But yes.
But I mean, honestly, that whole so EOS is, for if anyone out there doesn't know, it's entrepreneurial operating system. It's a methodology. There's several books on it. More than happy to share some with you if you want to send me an email. But it's a great system for small businesses. I'd say probably under 10, 20 million. Just get to that structure of who owns what in the organization, are the right people in the right seat type of thing. And it just gives you that methodology. So that's cool to hear you follow that. Hey, so I want to shift gears. Is there anything in your career from an entrepreneurial standpoint that you wish you had a do-over on? Like, oh man, that was not my greatest decision. Or, I always believe we can learn from our mistakes, but anything that stands out for you?
Yeah, so I would say sales comes naturally to me. And when I was in that sales role for enterprise, when I was selling to fleet management services, I wish that I would have dove into it a little bit more. I'm not a big cold call guy, like I couldn't do that, but I do like networking and I like creating content. And I was kind of getting into that a little bit, but I didn't let it play its full course out. And so for me, it's like there were so many good skills that I did get from there that I think I could have gotten more if I would have put more into that specifically. But I also was like, I wanted to do my own blog thing and I was kind of in this weird transition. But for most business owners, I think everyone would agree, like sales is probably one of the number one skills that you need to learn or figure out.
For sure. It's funny too. A lot of people don't like to reflect on themselves as a salesperson in any way. And yet it's one of the most core things that all of us as business owners have to do. It's just kind of the foundation. What about from a leadership standpoint? Is there like a core value or a core belief that you feel, hey, this is absolutely what we must have from a leadership standpoint?
Yeah, I would, if you were to ask my team, they would say this is probably my strongest point is being a leader.
Okay.
I view it as being a coach. And I know having leaders before, it's like you want to work for people that actually care about you and want the best for you, which is why the performance pay piece is so important because I can coach them and say, I want you to make six figures. I want you to make $300,000 a year. And that's why if you stick to this, I guarantee that this is going to work. So it allows me to be a great coach because there is a performance, like there is a scoreboard that they can go for. So I think having that level of communication with your employees, I know because I was in the trades. You don't have that level a lot of times. It's just like, oh, let me take you to lunch, man, so we can catch up or something like that. You don't have this structure of like one-to-ones or goal setting or what are we working towards and how are you contributing to that? I would say that's a really big one. I think most leaders or business owners would say my team knows that I care, but I think showing them that you care and articulating that you care and that you're really happy with their performance is a really big thing. So I'm constantly giving out a lot of kudos to the team because I don't think you can do that enough a lot of times.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Have you had any situations where things weren't working out as well as you thought and you had to have more of the tougher conversations? And how do you handle those when that happens?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. So we send him a Loom video. I sent him a Loom video. I don't.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but it is kind of fun.
No, it's funny. So like you might see something and you're like, oh my God, you're fuming over it. So I just quickly record a Loom video. I always share my face because I want them to hear the tone of what I'm saying and how I'm articulating it. And then I Slack them the Loom video and then I add a note to our one-to-one to bring it up. I mean, there's so much feedback, especially when you run a decentralized company and you see stuff and all this stuff. A lot of times it's easy to just like fly off the handle or like get really upset, but having a Loom video, being concise, and then adding it to the one-to-one has been really good for us. We've hired people and it's like, it doesn't work out. And then it's like, unfortunately, you hope that all this great stuff that you're doing is working, but it's just not the right fit. And so one big thing for me is like, I don't like to look at it as a family because like in a family, you can't cut people out of your family. But like as a team, it's like, we're working to win a Super Bowl. So, and if you're not going to help us get to the Super Bowl, then you might not be the right fit for this position. And it's okay because I'm a coach and I'm trying to get us there.
It's funny. I love what you just said about family because someone wrote on LinkedIn about a week ago, I think it was. It's like business isn't a family, and went into why it's not a family. And I got to be honest with you, part of me was like, I'm not sure I totally agree with what he's saying because you do get really, if you've worked in small businesses, you do tend to get really close to people and you do have long relationships. But I do agree with you when you say like you can't, well, I guess you could cut a family member out of your family, but it's not normal.
Yeah.
I do see what you're saying though. It's not always exactly like a family. And I like this whole Super Bowl analogy. That's a good one. Do you find one other thing I like about your model is because it's based on how much pay for performance, basically, you probably attract or weed out pretty quickly the right mindset. Because if you get someone that's a 9-to-5er, that model is not going to benefit them. Do they kind of self-select is what you find from your model?
Yeah, exactly. Like people, and we already know, like people that come in that, because in marketing, people are going to make $60,000, $70,000 a year, something like that. And it's like, cool, that's fine. You're going to be a doer. You're going to clock out and clock in and it's fine. It's not bad. But for people that want to actually, make six figures or go to that next level, here's a path to do that. And what we do is like, instead of just like a normal base plus commission, we actually have it as like a backstop. So they earn through their base. So they're kind of like building a book of business through their base. We're just like kind of setting that base for them to get up and running for the first 10 to 12 months. And then they're like full commission almost after that, just in the mindset of like, it's all on you kind of thing. That part weeds out a ton of people because they're like, yeah, I don't know about this whole full commission thing and all this stuff. It's like, well, it's not full commission. We're upfronting the cost and then you're working your way through it. And in home service, it's the exact same way that you could structure with your technicians and salespeople, is having that leeway that like, I'm going to get you up and running, but then you should be off to the races from there.
Yeah. So I do want to, before we wrap up here, I do want to talk about just marketing in general for small businesses. Now, I know you focus in the home service space, but could you give us kind of just a summary of like, what are some things that a typical small business, should they be doing SEO, paid advertising, just the whole gamut of everything, or should they be focusing? What's your thoughts around that?
Yeah. So the first part with marketing is there's two different types. There's B2B marketing and B2C. B2B is you're working with other businesses. B2C is you're working direct to consumer. So the framework I'm about to give you, you can do it for either one, but you have to know those two because it's different. So pick B2B, B2C. Then there's three pillars. There's visibility. So you have to create visibility for your business. So SEO, for example, if you're B2C, you can optimize your website for local SEO specifically and target those keywords. If you're B2B, you can optimize your SEO for, like digital marketing for HVAC contractors. That would be SEO for that. But it's also a little bit different because like with B2B, you have to think about like, are your customers going to be going on Google looking for you? Or are they going to be listening to podcasts or going on YouTube, that kind of stuff? So you have to kind of know the channels that you're on. But the first pillar is visibility, whether that's ads, SEO, social media, B2B partnerships. People have to know about you to even find you. The second pillar is conversions. Once they reach out to you or once they turn into a lead, they have to have some funnel to go through to nurture them through that funnel. That could be they say, hey, I just downloaded this free document that you gave me, or hey, I need to get a quote on XYZ. Then you schedule an appointment, you send them an estimate, then you get to a sale. Pretty straightforward, but you need to have some type of a sales sequence that incorporates marketing in there to get them through this funnel. And then the last piece is remarketing, or retargeting, which is You need to have a way to pull all your prospects and customers back into your funnel via email newsletters, text message marketing, something that's going to attract them to bring them back in to use you again for the same service or a different service. It's the exact same thing, B2B or B2C. It just sounds a little different for that.
Yeah. And what I love about your service is you kind of we talked about earlier, it kind of encompasses really though, it's like having your own marketing department really is what you guys implement into a small business. And then I imagine the business owner or the team is kind of coaching you guys in terms of the details of their business or where they want to be. And then you guys are executing as their marketing end. Is that kind of how you view it?
That's exactly right. And that's why we stay so niche to the people that we serve, because we have this great game plan and then we just need to learn from them and then incorporate these different pillars that we have inside of this game plan that we know is going to work. Like we had a client, HVAC contractor, they were 1.5 million, stuck there for 3 years. Then they started working with us. Within the first 12 months, they went to 3 million in revenue. And it was by implementing this exact game plan. There was nothing too crazy or different. It was just take the game plan, execute. They executed, we executed, and it all works.
Right. What's some low hanging fruit for the folks out there and I'm kind of feeding off some things that you say in LinkedIn, like for example, targeting past customers, or what comes to your top of your head as like low hanging fruit?
Yeah. So that HVAC contractor I just mentioned to you, they were not sending any emails to their customers ever. So in the first year working together, we sent out 12, one every single month. And it generated $253,000 for them in revenue just from sending an email 12 every single month. One every month for 12. So that's a really easy one that if you're not doing that, just cross-sell a different service, say, hey, it's time to use us again, whatever. And you would be surprised. A lot of businesses don't do that at all. That's a low-hanging fruit. The other one is inside of your sales funnel. So when you get a lead, when I was at the duct cleaning company, all the leads would go into like an Outlook email. And then they would print them out and stick them on their desk. And they would try to like keep track of their leads. And I'm like, okay, there needs to be a better automated process for this or put them into something. So most companies don't have a lead problem. They have a lead management problem. They have leads coming in on calls. They have leads coming in from Yelp and all these other places, but they don't have a place to keep the leads to nurture them. And so that's really what they need. And so if they fix that, 9 times out of 10, they can grow their business.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
And so that's really what they need. And so if they fix that, 9 times out of 10, they can grow their business.
Yeah, that's a great one. Okay, last one, I swear. Metrics. I can't leave without ending with metrics. How do you feel about metrics? Where do they fall in? Do any specific metrics kind of jump out at you? And I'm specifically leaving this vague, so feel free to fill in the blanks on whatever you want to think fits.
Yeah, so most marketing companies, and this was my heartburn, was like, impressions, likes, website visitors, maybe even leads. But like, I don't care. I want to grow my business. What's my return on ad spend or my return on investment? And so a really big one for us was with search ads in particular, Google ads. Most companies, I would say 9 out of 10 companies are spending money to the Google gods on Google search ads, praying for leads, and they don't know if it's working. And so what we do is we take all the leads that they get from Google ads, we put them into a spreadsheet, and every single month we audit them to their CRM and we give them the report of their actual return on ad spend numbers. So when we talk about metrics, like that is the number one. If people can solve that, because maybe it's not Google ads, maybe it's Facebook ads, Instagram ads, whatever it is. If they can solve that one thing, they'll sleep a lot better at night and they'll feel a lot more confident in spending money on different platforms.
Yeah, very cool. I like that. Okay, good. So value you being on the show and appreciate you sharing your knowledge. Now, your website, Flash Consulting, and guys, that's not with an F, it's with a PH. So flashconsulting.com. I imagine people could also reach out to you on LinkedIn because I know you're very visible there. It's under Phil Risher. If people want to reach out to you anywhere else, are those the two best places or are there anywhere else?
Yeah, that's the best place. You can go to flashconsulting.com. We do free marketing audits. So we literally get on a call for 30 minutes, audit all your stuff, talk about a game plan, whether it's a good fit or we work together or not. You'll get the best practices of what we would implement in your business and you can either use them or you can hire us to do it. And it's a free marketing audit. So that's kind of the first step of working with us.
Very cool. Hey, Phil, you're the best. I always love talking with you. Thanks for taking the time to be here. Hopefully in the future, you'll come back and we can share some more stories.
Yeah, likewise, Tyler. Appreciate you and having me on the show.
Thanks, man. Take care.
See ya.
That's all for this episode of Think Business with Tyler. But we have plenty more resources to help you in your pursuit of business excellence on our website at thinktyler.com. If you'd like to be featured in a future episode of the show, feel free to reach out to us on social media at think_Tyler. We look forward to helping you think life, think success, and think business.